Joe Robinette Bodo II, a.k.a. Joseph Robinette Biden II, currently, as of this moment in time, the President of the United States. This is an article from Politico that dropped this morning. I have not read this yet, but I've seen some interesting snippets on the internet. So, Biden world projects calm about COVID, but bites their nails in private. So, once again, let's do a quick history lesson. So, last April, Joe Biden's administration announces that the vaccine is available for all adults. Last July, 2021, Joe Biden declares victory on COVID on July 4th, says COVID has been beaten. Last fall, the Delta variant comes around. In between the Delta variant and Omicron variant surges, Kamala Harris gives an interview, she's the vice president, by the way, with the LA Times, saying that they had no idea variants would be a possibility. Now, I knew that would happen. Why? Because I pay attention to virologists and epidemiologists, and they have been sounding the alarms on variants since, April of 2020, and said that if not everyone gets the vaccine and we don't have any control mechanisms, that variants are eventually going to happen. White House, apparently I'm smarter than the entire White House, apparently. And so is everyone else that actually follows epidemiologists, virologists. Apparently we're all smarter than the entire White House. Now, I don't believe that. I believe that they knew that Delta variant or Omicron were possibilities. They just lied. They didn't care. They didn't care about protecting millions and millions of people. They just didn't give a fuck. They said, let's hope for the best. It's called gambling. It's called gambling. And as we know with gambling, the house always wins. Huh? And in this instance, it's not the White House. It's COVID in this instance. So in this instance, the House loses. But anyway, so Omicron comes around, right? And then Jen Psaki is laughing at the idea of sending tests to Americans via the USPS. What are we gonna do? Just give them free tests? Coincidentally, Jen Psaki announces that she's leaving the White House. But so she laughs at the idea. 2 weeks later, they announce that they're going to do it. But they said, we'll do it after the Omicron surge. So yeah, millions of cases a day. 9/11s every other day. In some areas during the December-January Omicron surge, it was 9/11s every day. And the Biden administration was like, all right, we'll give you some tests, but wait until 3 weeks after the surge to be able to order them, and then wait an additional 3 weeks to be able to get them. So most people got their tests in the middle of February 2021, and now, or 2022, I should say. And now March of 2022 comes around. All of a sudden, epidemiologists and virologists, the same ones who in April of 2020 said that there would be variants coming about, the same ones that in August of 2021 said that the Delta variant was going to be a problem, the same ones that in November of 2021 said that the Omicron variant was going to be a problem, telling everyone, sounding the alarm. Now they are all saying in March of 2022, yeah, there's a new variant coming around. The WHO decides not to give it a Greek alphabet name. Instead, it's just BA2. Why didn't they do that? Oh, they didn't want to scare people. If they give it another Greek alphabet name, then, oh, what if it's just like Omicron? Whoa! Well, we found out that the BA2 variant, more contagious than Omicron. So, but, okay, whatever. BA2 variant now accounting for 75% of all new cases. In April, here we are, fast forwarding to April of 2022, the CDC announces that it's changing all of their metrics. What used to be considered high transmission is now low transmission. That's right. Like when you're playing a card game like Yu-Gi-Oh! And like there's a new set that comes out, and the only thing that it does is it just like makes everything have bigger numbers. Like the strategy is identical. It's just power creep. When you're playing an MMO and they release an expansion, and all the expansion does is just now it's instead of you're fighting enemies with 10,000 damage, you're fighting enemies with 100,000 damage. It's just power creep, right? That's what the CDC decided to do with their transmission guidelines. So now all of a sudden, what used to be high transmission is low transmission. They just tripled all the numbers. So, okay, great. And also, now they're changing the metrics of what even counts as COVID. If you are not hospitalized, we're not going to report you to international statistics agencies. You have to be hospitalized with COVID. That's right, on your deathbed at death's door to even count as having COVID. So that's why all the case numbers are going down. But there's one metric we can use called wastewater processing, finding out the amount of COVID found in the sewage systems. Now, again, these are lagging indicators because it's not like, we don't have, piped up all to everyone's toilets directly. You have to wait until things are processed and then we can manage. So wastewater processing is finding that we may already be knee deep in this surge. We're seeing lots of figures online. Mayors, leaders, governors, the Speaker of the House, people that people know, like actors, podcasters, everyone's getting COVID all of a sudden. Now, again, I forgot to mention the State of the Union. Last month, Joe Biden declares victory for the second time on COVID. Last month, 1 month ago, I guess maybe 5 weeks, he declared victory. We did it. Take your masks off, America. Well, apparently behind the scenes, they are not learning any lessons. I guess in front of the scenes, they're not learning any lessons. But behind the scenes, they're still not learning any lessons because, their public policy is what really matters. But they kind of know that they may have made a bad bet. That's what it seems like. They may have bet wrong. They may have bet incorrectly. Who would have thought that when you bet on the same thing 5 times in a row and you lose every time, that the 6th time isn't the charm? The White House is publicly arguing that the country has finally arrived at a promising new stage in the pandemic fight, one that a recent spike in COVID cases won't spoil. Infections may be rising all across the Northeast, but top Biden officials note that vaccines and tests are widely available, and new therapeutics are capable of staving off severe illness. After a year consumed by the public health crisis, the administration says this time it actually is okay to stay calm and carry on. First of all, vaccines are effective for people that get them, but they do not control the spread if not everyone gets them. If people are not getting vaccinated and they get sick and spread it to all of their fucking sick friends and everyone else in their communities are getting sick and the virus mutates and becomes more evasive to vaccination, those who get vaccinated and have gotten vaccinated are getting fucked over. We need mandatory vaccination now. Mandatory vaccination. Strap them down, tie them down, get the belts, tie them fucking down to the bed, and fucking vaccinate them. That is the only way out of this. That's the only way out of this crisis. There's no other option. And also, the idea of the CDC, what does the CDC stand for? Have we forgotten? It's the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Saying, if you get it, maybe we'll treat you. By the way, they stopped funding COVID care for uninsured people. If you're uninsured, fuck it. You're on your own, bitch. So, not everyone has access to these quote-unquote therapeutics and treatments. Right? That doesn't help people that get long COVID that get sick, and then 30 to 40% of people that get sick never fully recover. Maybe they won't die. That's great. But maybe they're going to have neurological disabilities for the rest of their life. The government doesn't care. Quote, if you think about where we are at as a country, we are at a really good moment. Ashish Jha, the White House's new COVID-19 response coordinator, said during an appearance on NPR this week, we're in reasonably good shape. This person belongs in jail. Full stop. Do not pass go, motherfucker. Do not get that $200. Go the fuck to jail. This person, never heard of them before, they belong in jail, in prison, for mass murder. This is mass murder. To lie to Americans with your prestigious title of COVID response coordinator and to lie to people and tell them there's no problem. That is fucking crazy. This person belongs in jail. So does everyone in the White House and the CDC by the way. But this person, anyone saying blatant falsehoods and lies on behalf of the government, this is Trump tier lying garbage. You'd expect this from Trump. I mean, if you knew anything about Democrats, you'd expect this from Democrats too. But this is no different than how Trump handled the start of the pandemic. Oh, it's just 15 cases. Totally fine. Under control. We have 15 cases. We know where they are. And they're under control. Everything will be fine. It's the same thing. This is the same thing. Underneath the displays of confidence, however, is simmering anxiety. Biden officials and others close to the federal response privately acknowledged that the next few weeks will determine whether the White House has truly entered a new era or managed to misread the moment once again. Now, as my favorite president in the world once said,
there's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Well, unless you're Joe Biden. And so we need to update George W. Bush's old slogan, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me 3 times, shame on you. 4th time, shame on you. 5 times, and then you're going to fool me again for the 6th time? If you're Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that would be the updated slogan. Fool me 20 times, and I'll never learn a lesson. Despite increasing COVID caseloads in 31 states, does anyone know how many states there are? There's 50, right? 31 is the majority of states. This is not like, if it was like 3 states, okay, maybe 1, 31 is a majority. The administration believes there's little evidence that the uptick, driven by the more contagious BA2 subvariant, will reach the heights of the Omicron and Delta waves that preceded it. Did they need? This is the capitalist, like, infection of the brain garbage. Like, oh, it won't be as bad as Omicron, therefore we won't do anything to prevent it? What if it's like half of how bad the Omicron surge was? Or like 3/4. It wasn't as bad. Huh? Omicron was really fucking bad. I wouldn't want even 1/4 or 1/5 or 1/7 or 1/10 of as bad as Omicron. They're like, as long as it's not, as bad as Omicron, it's all good. More encouragingly, COVID hospitalizations have remained largely flat, a sign that vaccines and treatment are ensuring far few people suffer serious symptoms, and a boon to the theory that the U.S. can more safely live with the virus. The most important thing the vaccines are doing is keeping people away from the hospital and the morgue, said John Moore, a virologist at Cornell University's Weill Cornell Medicine. Yes, is it good to prevent that? But again, that's not how you fight a pandemic. Like, you have to control the spread and eliminate the spread. Otherwise, it's just going to keep moving around and like the flu. The flu kills like 30 to 40,000 people a year. And that's unacceptable. We need to be studying how we fucking can better combat this stuff. How we can rearrange society so that 30 to 40 people, 1,000 people a year don't die from the flu. And it's seemingly going to be the case that that number is going to be the low end. If living with COVID is a thing, how many people have died this year from COVID? So this is thousands of people dying nearly every day. Still, the climbing case count has put some health officials on edge. They've spent recent days searching for hints that a bigger resurgence is on the way. Searching for hints. How come I have been sounding the alarm on this for 2 months and somehow the people that are in this Politico article are still like, they're like archaeologists, right? Like they're trying to, we're searching. How can we find it? Stupid dumb bitch fucking podcaster had all this information 2 fucking months ago. What do you mean you're searching for hints? It's fucking mid-April, you cocksucker. Shit's ridiculous. Unnerved by the steep increases that have already hit Europe and concerned that poor data collection is obscuring signs of a similar boom already underway here. Exactly, the CDC has changed all metrics of data collection. Something that you would imagine would happen under Trump, but no. Last time I checked, Biden is president. Reminder, Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. Joe Biden won the 2020 election. That's because a significant proportion of new cases are going unreported. Due to the prevalence of at-home tests, individuals may test positive but not reported. It's a reality that Jha has cited to bolster the administration's case for refocusing attention on the still low hospitalizations as a key metric rather than infections. Getting sick is something you want to avoid. I don't want to get sick. I definitely don't want to die, and if I get sick, I'd prefer not to die, but my ideal scenario, let's just not get sick in the first place, but apparently that's too much to ask for. Some experts working on the response believe the undercounting is more severe than has been publicly acknowledged, with one administration official estimating the government is only recording 1 out of every 6 new cases. So that would mean by official metrics, according to this person, official metrics times 6 is where we're actually at. The data gap has fed internal concerns over how exactly the government should publicly message the seriousness of the situation. This is a classic cover-up. Again, Trump, the most criminal gangster president who's ever stepped foot in the White House, this is something that he wishes he could have gotten away with. This is a wide, mass-scale government cover-up, and who's in charge? Joe Biden. Who's in charge? Democrats. Covering up extensively what's happening in this country. People say, oh, the big lie, the big lie. You know what else is a big fucking lie? This COVID fucking data collection. That's a big fucking lie. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be real. If we want to compare big lies, Donald Trump's versus Joe Biden's, which one has killed more people? Which one has killed more people? Now, if you want to pretend like it's okay that the government failed to combat the Delta variant, I'll accept your position on that. Failing to combat the Omicron variant, unacceptable. If you think that that's okay, fuck you, go fuck yourself. And if you think what they're doing at this point is okay, fuck you, go fuck yourself. Anastasia, according to the CDC, there were between 12 and 52,000 cases of death from the flu. Well, okay, I may have been wrong. Hold up. Where's the 30 to 40,000 metric? Fact check. That might just be general deaths from healthcare. Okay, my bad. Fact check. It's 30 to 40,000 people die just from lack of healthcare, not from the flu. So my apologies. Thank you, Anastasia. I appreciate that. Let's keep going. They're like, we don't know if this is something to be worried about or not, said one person close to the White House. But you can't tell the public that. This is why I like Politico sometimes. Sometimes, you know, it's the gossip rag. You know what I mean? In one sign of the uncertainty within parts of the administration, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Wednesday announced it would keep mask mandates for public transportation in place for another 2 weeks. None of this means anything. I don't know where you live. Every time I leave the house, no one wears masks. Anywhere. Nowhere. No one is like, oh, is the mask man? Let me check. We're going to go on the bus. Oh, the mask mandate's in effect until next Friday, so let's get our masks, everyone. No one does that. When you take the mask mandate away at any point, no one's going to be checking. No one's, oh, I'm going to get an Uber. Well, let me check. The CDC is the mask mandate still in effect? It looks like it's in effect from 8 a.m. to 12:30. Well, let's look at, oh, it's 12:27. So no one does that. No one does that. Like, let's be honest. Should they do that? Yes. No one does that. I don't do that. I just wear my mask all the time. I don't give a fuck about what the mask mandate says. Anyone saying, oh, well, the CDC said take your masks off. And they actually they're a fucking moron. The CDC is a genocidal organization. The CDC is a eugenicist organization controlled by neo-Nazis. Full stop. In the days leading up to Wednesday's announcement, some health officials argued that keeping the transportation mandate in place would be out of step with the administration's broader policy approach and the nation's overall mood. Two people with knowledge of the matter said, Others countered that lifting mask requirements risked looking premature. Like, so this is all crying over, what about our optics? What about publicity? What about the publicity? What are they going to say about us? How are they going to answer a poll? Oh. That's what they're worried about. They don't care about millions and millions and millions of people's lives. The only thing they care about is a fucking poll. You can read the rest of this if you'd like. It's the same, it's the general, it's just more information on the gist. Behind the scenes, they're fucking scared shitless because they know that they fucked up for the 7th fucking time. But publicly, they're gonna lie to your face and smile. Fuck you. I hope your mom dies. I hope your dad dies. I hope your grandma dies. I hope your sister dies. I hope your dog dies. I hope your best friend dies. Fuck you. Go to work. That's what they're gonna say in public. I'd rather them say that, to be honest. I'd rather them say that. But they don't give a shit. They will never give a shit. This government is a genocidal, corrupt administration, a regime, if you will. A fucking regime, I would say. And it's unacceptable. It's refreshing to see an adult response to incorrect info as opposed to double and tripling down. Are you talking about me? Yeah, the 30 to 40,000 a year is excess deaths from lack of healthcare. I confused that with the flu. My apologies. But it's still similarly, rhetorically speaking, right? Just the idea that we're okay with 30 to 40,000 people dying a year when we could just not have them die. Rhetorically speaking, the point still stands. It's just I used the incorrect example. Doubling down.